The steep hills of the Monterey Peninsula in California have challenged soldiers and hikers for many years. But the region is also home to a grueling test for the athletes who sit down. WeatherTech Raceway at Laguna Seca, entering its 6th decade of operation, is a track that commands the respect of drivers worldwide. There is no place to rest around this 3.6-kilometre ribbon of bitumen. Laguna Seca combines almost everything one could ask for in a spectacular venue: hard braking zones, a mix of high speed and technical corners, and the famous elevation drop from the top of the corkscrew to turn 9, equivalent to the height of a 10-floor building. The Laguna Seca area is one with heavy involvement in the history of the state of California. The site of the track was once a dry lake bed. Laguna Seca is Spanish for dry lagoon. What is now present-day California was under the control of Mexico in 1834, when Rancho Laguna Seca was granted to Catalina Munras by the governor of the region at the time, Jose Figueroa. Ranchos were land grants given by the government for settling and grazing. Munras maintained ownership of this land after California became part of the United States following the Mexican-American War. By the dawn of the 20th century, the land had passed into the ownership of the Giggling family. Towards the end of the First World War, it came under the control of the US military to establish an artillery training camp known as the Giggling Reservation. The installation became known as Camp Ord in 1933, and in 1940, the property was expanded and designated Fort Ord. The site was used as a staging area for troops fighting in Asia and the Pacific thereafter. The motor racing history of the area began in 1950. The community of Pebble Beach, on the other side of the Monterey Peninsula, played host to the Pebble Beach Road Races, which became a popular sports car racing competition. The races were held simultaneously with the Pebble Beach Concours d'Elegance, a prestige car exhibition for charity, which continues to this day. However, the Pebble Beach races would not last anywhere near as long. In 1956, driver Ernie McAfee was killed upon crashing into one of the many trees that lined the roads. As with other events across America at the time, the decision was made to abandon open road racing and move to permanent venues. Thus began the life of Laguna Seca Raceway. On land purchased from Fort Ord, the initial layout of the circuit was built around the old dry lake bed, opening in 1957. Laguna Seca was a narrow and fast affair and considered a worthy replacement for the old Pebble Beach circuit. But as always, racing changes, and circuits must change with it. The track gained a proper pit lane, separated from the racing surface, in 1964. This was then replaced by a brand new pit complex in 1968, along with Turn 4 and the run-up to the corkscrew being reconfigured. 1986 saw the exit of Turn 2 widened and straightened, before the current infield layout extension was added in 1988 to bring the track up to the minimum length requirements for hosting motorcycle Grand Prix racing. Along with this extension came a tightening of Turn 6, formerly Turn 4, and upgrades to runoff. The pit exit was extended to the end of the hairpin in 1990, and finally, in 1996, turns 10 and 11 were moved, creating more runoff and paddock space. There have been further upgrades to facilities and runoff through the mid-2000s, along with a dip before the corkscrew being flattened out, but the basic layout of the circuit has stayed the same to the present day. Laguna Seca has a rich racing history, holding events for most of America's major series. It's a circuit that continues to be one of the busiest in the United States, and in the sim racing arena, that fact rings true as well. Its inclusion as base content in iRacing means that every bump, rise, and fall is ingrained in many sim racers' minds from day one.